begin by thanking the LUMSX team for having me today. Just now Dr. Zahoor ne apni introduction mein bola, I also took a risk by agreeing. So here we are. But today's discussion will focus on the individual learner as a professional. And I think it's a topic that's very relevant to all of us today. I'll point to Zain and his example of Alice in Wonderland. I mean, when do we know how fast we have to run? When do we know when we want to pause, take a break? So these are the kind of questions we'll be exploring. When I was thinking about the panel, I was also thinking perhaps it's like an unending masterpiece we work on, right, throughout our lives. We're chiseling away with different tools. Sometimes we know that acha ye masterpiece aise lagega. Sometimes we get new skills. We work on it further. There are external disruptions as well. Sometimes people know exactly what their masterpiece will look like. So it really is this journey that for most of us here is something that we deal with on an everyday basis. So I'm very excited to be exploring these various ingredients that go into charting that kind of career development trajectories that we're working on. And hopefully the spotlight will be on our panelists today that will share their own personal journeys. We can hopefully get insights from them and learn from them on their own experiences and how that can help our audience today. So I'm very pleased to introduce our panelists. We have Khurram and Sursab, and as I call your names, please do join me up on stage. Khurram is the lean value chain business partner at Nestle. He has a deep understanding of AI and machine learning with significant experience in how these technologies can drive business transformation. With a background in leading AI-driven projects and a passion for teaching, Khurram is dedicated to making AI and ML concepts accessible and engaging for beginners, particularly advocating for a practical approach to learning where students understand how to apply these tools in real-world scenarios. We have Dr. Hamad Elizai with us, Associate Professor and Chair Computer Science and Director of the LUMS Learning Institute. Dr. Hamad has several years of experience as faculty, as a researcher, software engineer, and technical lead, both in academic and industrial settings. He has several publications under his belt as well. He is a certified trainer for instruction skills workshop and regularly conducts pedagogical workshops for faculty at LUMS. Next we have, sure. I think Khurram ka miss ho gaya, round of applause. Next we have Ms. Fatma Ijaz, Principal K-8 Scarsdale International School. Fatma oversees academic leadership, curriculum development, at teacher training at Scarsdale. With over a decade of experience in education, she has led key initiatives in accreditation, digital learning, and the integration of 21st century skills across grade levels. She's passionate about creating adaptive, future-ready learning environments and remains committed to continuous learning and driving innovation in education through thoughtful leadership and practical implementation. Finally, we have Ms. Sara Ahmer, Head of Art and Design at HSN College. Sara is an art educator, designer, and researcher with over 20 years of experience in education. As Head of Art and Design Department at HSN, she has redefined art education by integrating digital technology into the curriculum. She's the founder of the school's renowned Art and Performing Arts Festival, while her ongoing action research focuses on generative AI-powered adaptive lessons that address diverse learning needs and promote inclusivity in education, impacting over 3,500 learners. So after that very verbose introduction, I think I'd like to begin by asking each of the panelists here about their own personal journeys. So we can begin with perhaps, if you look back, a moment in time where you felt, okay, you know, this is something that really disrupted the way I had planned my career. And also, if you could share how you sort of addressed that challenge. So we'll start with you, Khurram.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me here. Uh, right, so thank you for having me here. Always good to be back at LUMS. I am through and through a LUMS alumni. I did my bachelor's from LUMS in social sciences, then went on to go on for the MBA, and then eventually I got my first role in supply chain. So almost around a decade I've been working in supply chain, different roles supply chain. If you have an understanding of it, it is a very diverse field, right? So one day you're in planning, the other day you're in procurement, the other day you'll be in, I don't know, logistics. So each of these, sub functions require a completely different set of skills to ace them. But what really made the difference, जहाँ पे मुझे लगा कि I'll have to do something completely different, is probably the mid of 2022. So I was promoted to my current role, and one of the things that I had to do was I had to be responsible for capability development for the people at Nestle. Uh, I've never shied away from teaching, and I've taught a couple of courses from January to March in CES as well on AI. So, anyways, June, July of 2022, we get to know that there is something known as Mid-Journey, right? I think all of you have heard about it. It came before ChatGPT, and I was very skeptical about it. I was like, यार ये क्या मतलब text डालें और ऊपर से ये photo बना रहा है, समझ नहीं आई बात नहीं. But eventually, it started circling the mainstream media and every other news outlet. I was like, okay, कुछ होगा इसके अंदर. Still skeptical, but with therein came ChatGPT in November of 2022, and that was, if you've been instructed by Jamshed Saab, that was the lo and behold moment for me. I was like, I think this is the real deal now. So उसमें हुआ क्या कि I made the curriculum, and in the curriculum what I did was, other than teaching Power BI and this Excel वगैरह, I deliberately included AI, right? I thought I'm going to teach this, and when I went to my boss, he was like, तुझे AI आती है? मैंने कहा जी नहीं. तो लेकिन that I said to him कि I think that is the way to go about, and that is, I think I am doing the right thing. So he looked at me, and he said, okay, fine, go ahead with it. And that was the time it started, and I've not looked back behind. And that was probably the most disruptive thing that probably I had to do. Uh, so I had to learn on the go, because I had committed that I am going to, teach a certain number of people at Nestle. I ended up teaching 400 unique people, from executives to entry-level participants, and that was so. So I embraced the disruption, and that was the most disrupted I felt, and I can't remember a moment more clearly and more vividly that I thought that this needs to be done, and that is where it all started
Do we have to follow this line or
Yeah, we can.
maybe? Okay, sure. Okay, thank you. First of all, my story is not as mesmerizing as Khurram's. And I see this question as a dangerous question. You know, if I speak the truth and the timeline that you have given once in a lifetime, that moment where I had to relearn or redirect myself as a professional, that is a very dangerous question in the sense that the audience may think कि ये ज़िंदगी में एक दफ़ा ही आता है और जिस टाइम में हम रह रहे हैं वहाँ पे एक दफ़ा नहीं आता, ये रोज़ रोज़ आता है. परसों आपने जब इस पैनल का जिक्र किया और कहा कि मैं पैनलिस्ट हूँ, उस टाइम भी मुझे एहसास हुआ कि आई नीड टू आई एम कम्प्लीटली मिसफिट फॉर दिस पैनल, तो आई हैड टू रीऑर्गेनाइज रीलर्न थिंग्स अबाउट दिस पैनल. तो टेकिंग द जर्नी बैक टू हाई स्कूल से जब पास हुए, रॉट लर्निंग, मेमोराइज कर लिया था कि मेमोराइजेशन कैसे करनी है. यूनिवर्सिटी गए तो यू थॉट कि वी आर रेडी, वी वर नॉट रेडी. आई हैड an amazing first semester where I barely passed. Then I realized I have to realign myself for the university education. The university education किसी तरह से हो गई, फिर बाहर चले गए मास्टर्स के लिए. वहाँ पे पता चला कि जो यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ा था वो यहाँ पे नहीं पढ़ाया जाता. I had to again professionally upgrade myself. फिर मास्टर्स के बाद किसी ने मशवरा दिया PhD कर लें. वी स्टार्टेड PhD एंड लर्न कि मास्टर्स में जो पढ़ा था वो PhD में अप्लाई नहीं होता. You have to learn a new profession which is research. उसके बाद PhD के बाद इनफ है कि और भी 2-3 बता दूँ.
I think this is a good example of when you take a straightforward question and you answer it in a creative way. Please keep going.
Okay. So after completing PhD, we thought, now that's the last terminal degree, and I know everything, and I am very well set for my professional life. The first day in the class, I realized, oh, I don't know how to teach and how to supervise students. And then we started to learn that. And then I am a computer scientist. Every day there is a new technology. Nowadays, every day there is a new model. We have to learn it. Then I became the CS chair. I tried to boss around people like Suleiman. They wouldn't let me. So I wish I had learned a little bit about leadership, about managing people. So it's a continuous journey, and I'm sorry I don't have that one moment. And in my opinion, if there was one moment, I would have been very lucky. But unfortunately, I don't think there is one moment where we have to redefine ourselves as a professional.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I have always been in my school life very below average to average student. I was not so good with memory. Ratta lagana na kabhi sikha aur na sikha saki. And when I went to my college, there was an opportunity to write the answers the way I could have answered. So if you see one of my friends from school and you tell them, oh, you are the principal at a school, they will not believe it. Honestly, isko kisne principal bana diya? But if you speak to someone from my college, where I was heading quite a few programs also as a student, वो ये कहेंगे अगर इसको नहीं opportunity मिलनी थी तो फिर किसको मिलनी थी? So evolving was something that I learned as I grew. Having said that, choosing this profession to be a part of teaching was not accidental. Unfortunately, in our society, कहीं और नौकरी नहीं मिली तो चलो टीचर बन जाते हैं. हमने किया MBA है मगर हम आके grade 4 को पढ़ाते हैं. So there is a big disconnect when you study, you choose, but you do something else for whatever reasons. Mine was not accidental, it was intentional. Because there was one teacher who made an effort to make that impact as a student. And that teacher was in my college. If that person walked an extra mile for me, I would love to do that for as many students as possible. So to get into this career pathway was intentional. For me, every day is a new learning curve. Obviously, when you're learning and you're teaching kids, you're learning yourself. You can't say that today I didn't learn anything. Of course, a pre-kindergartner will teach you patience, something that you're not born with. A high schooler will teach you patience on a very different level, something you're not born with. So for me, one of the disruptive time was pandemic, where we had to let go of the traditional way of teaching. That was right in front, your students are sitting, you have tangible things and you can do activities. You had to go above and beyond to grab their attention through the screen. Trust you me, it wasn't easy for any teacher who's sitting over here. Even right now, those who are giving these lectures online, it is, some people think, oh, it's so easy, you know, reading from the prompter or you have your lesson planner in mind. No, if you are having interactive sessions, there is a child who is more interested in playing Fortnite than listening to you. So to make your lessons relevant, interactive, was a challenge for all teachers at that time. And we had to evolve our strategies as quickly as possible. We did not have that time, that leverage. All right, we have the entire summer break. I will work on my lesson planner. No, we had to literally swap within days. And that was a learning curve for all the teachers, everybody who was in that position to teach. So that's about it.
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. So, I'm going to take forward of what Dr. Hamad said and move on from there. when he said there is a series of. And from there, I'd like to say that actually, not only that this series, but over the time period, as you're gaining your experience, you are moving towards that pivotal moment. So, I mean, I planned to be a ceramist. So I did my graduation initially to be a ceramist, and I was like, I'm going to be making pots all my life now. And then that's when I started teaching at National College of Arts. And that's where my passion for teaching, for education, started on. And from there, I wanted to teach more of art. And I studied a little bit more in regard to education. And basically, education से start करके, and then हमारा उस वक्त main aim क्या होता है कि the more we can help our students, the more we can benefit them by maybe studying more of lessons or preparing them, preparing some sort of resource for them. So ये सारा कुछ करते करते और फिर trainings हासिल करते हुए, and then finally, for example, I reached on to becoming a Cambridge examiner and assessment specialist. So ये एक पूरी journey बन जाती है. वो जो बनना वक्त उस वक्त का होता है, तो हम समझ रहे होते हैं कि वो pivotal moment है. But actually वो पूरा पीछे behind those years of experience होता है that leads you towards that certain point. So one another thing that happened to me, क्योंकि redundant हो जाता है while we are teaching, तो हम सबसे बड़ी जो mistake करते हैं as teachers, कि हम कहते हैं जब आपसे कोई पूछता है कितने लोगों ने यहाँ से they ask me the question, so how long have you been in HSN? So of course I promptly said I've been at HSN for the last 20 years. But अगर मैं same चीज़ पढ़ाती चली जाऊँगी, I'll keep on teaching, तो मेरी तो 1 year of teaching होगी, if I'm not constantly evolving myself. So actually, if you're not training ourselves, you're trying to move forward, तो हमारी कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है उस सारी teaching का. So in the same process of trying to understand the students themselves, कि कैसे as an art and design teacher, I felt the more I taught, the more I needed to teach individually also, the more time I needed to give. And I think more time का ज़्यादा concept pandemic से भी आया, how they got access to us 24 hours, the students, and then they keep on, following us up and questioning. And then they tell us their problems. Ki, okay, one would say ki, how you taught your lesson. Maybe I tried to teach them visually, but koi student hoga, they'll have to do to understand that. So from there, I kind of applied for a British Council Action Research Grant, which was across almost 2,600 schools around the world. And, and I got that research, and my research included, again, I'm an art and design teacher, so nothing to do with AI, but I chose to propose that by taking AI as a tool, the teachers can improve their teaching by teaching diverse learners. And I was, not only did I do the work theoretically, but I did it practically also. I chose around, I think 25, 30 teachers around 5 schools. And these teachers were then trained at LUMSEX. And I was and I took the training myself. So Dr. Suleiman was part of it, and Sameen Asghar was part of that. And I was fortunate enough to do that, and it was a great challenge for getting those teachers to actually complete the courses also, because I'm not as such, because they're from different schools, so they're not under me, so they're not bound to actually take those courses. But the real success, I think, came after the teachers took the course, of how each of the teachers that I'd chosen, they were over different departments, that they belonged to different departments around those 5 schools. And they went on and shared their, whatever they had learned across the entire 5 schools. And as a result, more than almost 300 teachers were able to benefit from the whole exercise. And as a result, as you were mentioning, that almost 3,500 to almost 4,000 students indirectly benefited from the whole exercise, and the whole apprehension of the use of AI, jaise, they're not really adaptable towards all of this. So sometimes the success doesn't have to come through a certain name or a title that has been given to us, but actually through a series of things that you are seeing that are happening around you. So that's about it. Thank you.
No, I think the change is always the constant, right? And as Dr. Hamad said, there's a series of instances in life that require you to constantly be adaptable. So I would like Dr. Hamad, actually, you to take the next question, which is on developing a mindset. So what are the sort of attributes or skills people can really focus on to remain adaptable and resilient? And if you could please draw on your experience with LLI as well. So you're working directly with higher education stakeholders. So if you could answer that with that perspective in mind.
Okay, sure. So, I mean, you contextualize the question at the end, LLI perspective, say I can respond. So when you asked me this question, you said, Dr. Hamad, and it gives me goosebumps. See, you use my title, doctor, and that's the killer aspect actually. And for a very long time, this doctor title have actually been a main hurdle in learning. It's a terminal degree, and people think that they have learned everything. Unfortunately, when I joined academia after my PhD, I was told that you have to redo your PhD after every 5 years, okay, to remain relevant. Nowadays, I think that timeline has been reduced to less than 6 months every semester. Well, you have the opportunity to scale because now there are students working with you, there are people working on multiple projects, but that's the mindset you need to have. And unfortunately, we can't do away with degrees, but we really need to change our interpretation of degree, what a degree means. So doctor, I like being called doctor, but honestly, there should be some way of assigning you, जैसे गाड़ी का test आजकल नहीं हो रहा, emission test, there should be a doctor test as well. I hope not. I don't want to give any test. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, we will fail. So one example is I did my PhD in wireless sensor networks. Who knows this name today? Nobody. I know a couple of people may know the name, but nobody knows that name. And that was just 2012. And that field is vanished. There is nothing in that field left. So I had to do multiple PhDs. So I can count the number of papers I published after 2012. And I don't want to praise myself, but I really did many PhDs after that. And that's the mindset that you need to cultivate, that there is no you really need to be ahead of the game because you are a faculty member, you are a teacher, and you are actually, you have the responsibility of educating others. And that's really very important that you stay ahead of the game. That said, now something that shouldn't be recorded, I think in the Pakistan's context problem, cultivating that mindset is not a bigger problem. There are a lot of societal challenges. The problems that we are having with the salaried class people, taxation, making two ends meet, all these problems add into this challenge. So the primary answer is to redo your PhD or whatever degree you have again and again so that you can. And the problem is not that there is no information. The desire is not there. So we have to create that desire.
Also bring Sarah's opinion here again, because you work specifically with art, and over the networking tea we're also speaking about how that's a subject you constantly have to defend. But in terms of the soft skills that we can work on, of course there are socioeconomic factors, as you mentioned, that determine how an individual learner will grow. But for instance, at the school level, what are these soft skills that can really help students develop that mindset where they understand, okay, how do we deal with change? How do we deal with being able to anticipate, as Dr. Zahoor mentioned in his keynote, anticipate change and also understand कि next steps क्या होने चाहिए?
So while you were talking about this, suddenly, the image just popped in my mind of how to be able to convince the students, sometimes you need to take the other route. And usually my art classes start off with me showing Pink Floyd's video, If anybody knows about that video where basically what's happening there is that a student, if anybody's watched that, if anybody's watched, yes, yes. So it's about how a student wants to read out a poem and in the class, and the teacher doesn't let them, and he makes fun of the student, he beats him up, and from there the student's thought process goes on how we students have become, you know, they're the same, they're learning the same, and then we're producing the same thing also. And as a result, then comes a book in my mind. It's by a Brazilian writer, and it's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. And he was basically he was banished from Brazil because he wrote about this, that the students have basically become banks in which we keep on depositing. We want to just give them as much information as possible, and as a result, they can't become transformers of the world. And so, ये पूरा concept पहले जब तक हम educators के mind में नहीं लेकर आएंगे कि हमने we are transformers actually, not कि we are depositors. So ये problem आ रहा है right now in the entire education system कि हम जो हैं क्या करते हैं, हम standardization कर देते हैं, grades and A's and B's and C's and और फिर parents भी उसी तरह के हो जाते हैं. So therefore this entire concept can only be changed if हम classroom education के बाहर जाके इसके अलावा what are we doing for the students that is beyond what is the syllabi, because we are somehow or the other confined with the syllabi. For example, I'm teaching Cambridge and I feel restrictive at some times. But for me to be able to do this, for example, I started off with this small scale event, art event, and it's grown into an international platform for all sorts of artists to collaborate, to you know, do some sort of, to even lead, to be able to, you know, in a way, they're given that kind of a space where they can actually do whatever they want to, and it's encouraged. So it's not just that they are learning about art, music, or drama within that event in itself, but they're finding their own selves. So I feel it कि जो conformity है ना of the syllabi, and दूसरा, of course, at the same time जो हम ये जो बन रहे हैं ना कि बस हमने एक बोरी है और उसके अंदर बस डालते चले जाना है कि until it just bursts open, that can't happen. Actually, yeah, if we don't try to change this, we're just going to be constantly in the same cycle. और वही struggle जो हम कहते हैं कि स्कूल में जो learn किया था वो कॉलेज में तो different तरीके से पढ़ा रहे हैं, because of course colleges have different and way of teaching. And I think that's the right way of.
No, I think it's interesting what you said and what Dr. Hamad said. I'm going to continue using the title because I don't know how else to.
Never said you should.
Okay. So I think what you are saying, I mean, that's very relevant to the way our school system is set up, right? There is a system of rote learning. Or for jo private schools and the elite education, it's also creating a lot of inequality within our job markets, right? So I would like to bring in Fatma here, because as a principal, I'm sure you're mentoring your students as well about their career trajectory, especially at the high school level. So when you're talking to them, how do you, मतलब क्या आप advice देते हैं? How do they balance a global perspective to the local context, right? And more so in a highly integrated global economy. So does your student, you know, have aspirations to leave, and then do you have to train them for that opportunity? And what if they want to remain here? So उसको आप कैसे balance करेंगे? Because the reality in Pakistan, the economic reality and the economy and employment sector they'll be working in is very different. But again, very quickly getting integrated into the international market. So how do you help them balance that?
Excellent question. Well, nowadays, most of the students have been blessed having a college counselor. That's a very nice name that most of the private schools have introduced. But before we even get there, I think deciding or talking about different career pathways should not just be done in high school. It is something that if your child is ready to talk and discuss in grade 6 or 7, why not have that conversation? I have a daughter who is in 10th American High, and I've been having these conversations on a very regular basis when she was much younger. Why do I want to limit and give it an age limit? That now I think she is mature enough. Let's talk about this. If she's or he is open, why not? Having said that, there are certain things that every school must focus on acquiring. That is 21st century skills, whether it is problem solving, critical thinking, whether it is innovations. All of these qualities help you in any part, in any field of your life, whether you decide to become a doctor, engineer, any other profession. That is something that you will take on with you for the rest of your life. Now, how do we talk about this on a regular day? Well, having said that, AI has become a really good tool for us to, venture off. While sitting in the comfort of my home or my school, I can talk and discuss and see, what other I have interest in so-and-so field, what options do I have? Earlier, in my younger age, I did not have that facility. Or if I want to explore a little more in physics, what more professions I can do in physics? These things have become accessible to us because the technology is also evolving. And if the teachers also in the school are promoting evolving and they're showcasing it themselves, the kids also take inspiration from us. Now, for instance, being a STEM certified school, it is very important for us to connect with the local problems that we have around and then make solutions out of it. And then those problems are not only done locally. For instance, water conservation is something that is many third world countries' problem. Not only that, even the well-developed countries are also trying to conserve water. So if the students at a local level are trying to figure out a way how to conserve, you are connecting globally as well. It is not something just only in Pakistan. It is at many other places. So when you have such kind of work system or educational system that is promoting problem solving or critical thinking, you are automatically connecting with global forms also. Yes, you're right that not every student would have that opportunity to go abroad. But we have good institutions in Pakistan also who are taking initiative to introduce new programs, new ways to venture out in not only degree-wise, I'm talking about courses also, certificates also. And the talk is there. It's not redundant, it's not quiet anymore. How it used to be, let's say 20 years or 25 years ago. Now more and more people who have gotten degree, like people over here and in the audience also, they have come back to Pakistan and have opened that discussion forum. Can you imagine what education is going to be in another 10 to 15 years in Pakistan, where people, the kids nowadays are learning from people who have come from abroad, bringing that exposure, that expertise, the willingness to share the knowledge. I already look forward to seeing how it is going to evolve in Pakistan, definitely.
Thank you for that. Khurram, I'd like to bring you, and you've been listening very patiently. We'll get you to share your thoughts as well. So I think working with students, so we know that from a young age, students are more amenable to grasping new concepts, but you specifically work with adults and with very technical skills, right? So how do you get that information across, with AI learning as well? Particularly with older or more mature learners who even, are very daunted by this concept of even stepping into the world of AI. How do you connect, and how do you see that sort of information translate in your experience?
All right, so I'll share, some anecdotal something that happened a while ago. Back in January, February, I was teaching for CES, and that is, in terms of the age, that was the most diverse class that I've taught. People, yeah, from A levels up till, yes, a certain gentleman must be around 70. And I kid you not, he was one of the most studious people around. And he used to do all the assignments. He used to stop me if he did not understand anything. And he was actually confident about it. He was a businessman, I suppose. He didn't need to do it, but he sort of exemplifies a lot of things that I really hold close to my heart. So, for example, I'll just come on directly to your question, but for example, I've seen a lot of people in my workplace as well and otherwise as well. कि लोगों को लगता है कि जी कि we've done our MBA, we've done our bachelor's, the learning stops, and this is rampant. So what happens is that if you graduated in 2018 and now it's 2025, you carry the same skill set, you carry the same mindset, and you try to, आपके पास वो सांचा होता है और आप हर चीज़ को उसके अंदर आप डालने की कोशिश कर रहे होते हैं, and that does not work, and it begins to show. It begins to show in your, personal, sort of communications, in your work, in your disposition, in your the way you communicate all across. So the learning does not stop. It cannot stop. And that gentleman, yes, that is something that I really quote an example to. So what I do is that I have this rule. It's a common rule. The rule is that you should be able to explain everything, whatever you were trying to learn, to your grandma. Either your grandma or your 5-year-old child, right? अगर आपको कोर लेवल पे चीज़ समझ में आ गई है तो आप 1 या 2 सेंटेंस के अंदर चीज़ को समझा सकते हैं. So अगर आपको लग रहा है, let's say if you're self studying and if you're trying to understand something, so oftentimes there are people from LUMS that I interview while I'm at Nestle. So उसके अंदर a lot of time people write कि जी Python का कोर्स किया हुआ है जी, अच्छा जी regression भी की हुई है, data analysis भी किया हुआ है. So when I ask them कि जी के 1 या 2 sentences में बताएं, तो rarely if ever they're able to explain that, which is fine, but nonetheless I'd want that level of understanding. That is because if you understand at the core level, that is the only way, in my view, in my humble opinion, that you will be able to translate whatever you've learned into your actual professional or the real life, as people say in a cliche way. So try to break down things, concepts in really, really simple words, really simple terms, and that is the way to go about it. So that's been my go-to strategy. That is how I've learned AI. That is how I've learned machine learning. Obviously, I'm not probably as competent as a PhD, but nonetheless, I should be able to have a very good, wholesome discussion with different people. But that is because I've tried to understand that, right? I still learn, right? The learning never stops. As Dr. Saab just said, that every 6 months there is something new, right? And all of a sudden you start feeling कि यार के जो पढ़ा था वो कहाँ गया सारा, right? Everything turns on its head. So simplify things. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
Dr. Ahmad, could you add to that? I mean, there's so many resources, right? So many resources. You, like Khurram also mentioned, every 6 months there's something new. How do people choose कि हमने next कौन सा resource access करने, and what are the skills we should be developing? As an individual professional, and again with diverse sectors represented here, what strategy can they take on?
That's a very good and a challenging question. I just saw his watch, so I think this is the last question. And my throat, I'm really happy my throat stayed with me so far. My throat is not having a great day today. But yeah, I'll try to pull together all my wisdom in this one question and try to answer that. So, how can you improve your learning? I think there are 2 very important principles. I'll answer this question generally first and then try to contextualize it across different professions. Okay, and the general is, learning is just like a compass. You just draw circles, and your circle should get bigger every day, every month, every year. right? And that is called as learning through the low-hanging fruit, that you are not learning in different circles, you are just trying to increase your circle. What is the next closest thing that you already know that you can learn? And I think this is a very easy way of expanding your circle. And that should be a continuous process, that your circle should get bigger and bigger. And when to decide that it is time to increase the radius of your circle, I think there is a very important terminology used, the S curve. The S curve is that you start learning slowly, then you suddenly start learning fast, getting comfortable, and then the saturation reaches. So this becomes an S. And once you are at this top level of the S, you should start a new S curve, right? And that is drawing a new circle, or a circle with a bigger radius. So that is the general answer. Try to learn whatever is closest to your field to increase the circle size, and always learn through this S curve. Now coming to different areas, how to identify what you should learn, I think it really depends on what you are doing for the society. If you are an entrepreneur, you first need to identify either the problem within your current organization, or what is the next big societal problem that you want to solve as an entrepreneur, and that should be the anchor for your learning. That, okay, I'm going to solve this new problem now, I'm going to start this new organization or this new startup based to solve this societal problem, and that should anchor your next learning journey. If you are working for a company, definitely you need to learn AI or whatever that can make you more efficient, right? That can enhance your output, that can enhance your outcome. That should anchor your learning. And nowadays it's AI, honestly, I truly believe that AI will not replace the people, but the people who know AI will replace the ones who don't. Then comes job seekers, for example, those who want to get new jobs, and the easiest way could be to have a good view of the LinkedIn job search, what are the latest jobs coming around, and that could anchor your learning. And I think these three areas that identify, you can very easily extrapolate it to other sectors of the market, where whatever is your aim, that should actually be the anchor point for your learning.
No, I think that's very practical. I'm taking mental notes as well. I do have a last set of questions before we conclude. And I was thinking, again, when I was sort of thinking about the panel, मैं सोची थी कि few decades ago we had careers where people would spend their entire lifetime going up the career ladder in the same organization. Now that just sounds very, very rare. So Fatma, I'd like you to comment on this. Is there an exemplary career in this day and age? Because there is so much diversity. And I'm asking you this because you work with students, and I'm sure you keep a track on what their trajectories look like. What is an exemplary career, or what is even a successful career?
What is an exemplary career is why does it have to be exemplary? That's my question. Like today, if I'm passionate about education, I hope that I stay like this for the rest of my life, because that is something that I'm very proud of. But tomorrow, if I find something else is interesting and I should learn, why shouldn't I? So if I am a doctor, I've seen so many people, those who are medical doctors, going to different hospitals, later on become lecturers, probably related to medicine, but they switch because the passion changed. Why is there need to be exemplary? So if you are up for trying out different things, different fields, so keep on evolving. Change is inevitable. If the change is inevitable, the need to evolve is very important. You cannot stay stationary. You cannot believe in what you learned 10 years ago or 30 years ago. Things change, life change, your experiences change you. So if one has to evolve, let's not stop the process. Let's keep on doing. On educational level, on a school or high school level, that is something that you have to teach the kids that, you know, you can't be rigid. देखिए जी, अकड़ते मुर्दा हैं. हम लोग जीते जागते लोग हैं, हमें थोड़ा flexible होना चाहिए. And our learning has to be flexible also. Our thought process has to be flexible also. We should be open towards learning from this age to that age to the 70, 80, 90-year-olds जिनके पास experience is so vast. So exemplary career is something that I think we should not focus on that. We should be open towards whatever we want to learn and whatever we feel that this is time for to evolve and venture off to this pathway, then let's take on to it. Limit ab khatam ho rahi hai, aista aista, even in Pakistan. Sky is the limit, that's what they say. I
Right.
think beyond sky are the limits that we should explore.
I think that's a very sort of, that's the kind of question, answer we were actually looking for, and especially coming from an educationist, that's very good to know. Final question for Khurram. As Fatma mentioned, you know, there's no one track, there's no one pathway, and since you work with Nestle as well, it is a larger corporation. Maybe your perspective would be interesting. कि diversification कितना ज़रूरी है? So if you have your one job with one organization, should you also be simultaneously working on a side hustle?
That's a pretty interesting question, and I think there's a long answer to it, but I'll just put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So there is no harm for working for one organization in a particular career track, but within an organization themselves, you will be offered different sort of roles across the organization. So you're not siloed in today's world, right, in any organization. But one thing that has to be clear is that when you talk about diversification and a side hustle, there are two ways to look at it, right? The one thing is that you invest in creating a complementary skill for yourself. That's one, in my view. The second thing can be, can be the side hustle, which for me represents, working on your passion, right? You can work on anything that works best for you, right? For some, the low-hanging fruit could be that they can work on their passion project. For others, it could be just learning a complementary skill. But what I have seen in the past is that if, for example, you're an engineer or if you're an entrepreneur, right? What you can do is, since we've been talking about AI, you could learn the relevant literature about AI, right? How can it help you, sort of increase sales, or if you are a plant engineer, how to improve the processes, right? Those are the things that are going to help you over there. So for me, complementary skills are a must. Even if you want to take a particular career track, which I think probably won't be sustainable in the long run, but nonetheless you can still take that view. But the complementary skills are absolutely essential so that you are not left behind in any way. That's the one thing. The other thing that can happen is that whatever complementary skills that you eventually learn, that may become a passion. You may end up discovering something new that you did not know beforehand. So coming from a social science background, the last CS course that I was exposed to was CS 101, right, in the first year. But I had to go through all of it, right? So when I went into AI, I thought, this is something I can do. ये तो अच्छी चीज़ है. जब CS 101 कर रहे थे तो यार वो parenthesis नहीं लग रहा होता था, game वो आरिफ ज़मान बता रहे होते थे, वो 9 dice नहीं समझ आ रही, right? So but it has somehow I've caught up with it, right? So times change, as all the other participants have also said, that mindsets change, your dispositions change, and probably you will be able to grasp new avenues. So so diversification is absolutely important. You cannot overlook it if you want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be comfortable in your comfort zone. The default has to be uncomfortable in terms of your growth. You have to do whatever it takes.
No, thank you for that. That's very relevant advice. Before we open up for question and answer, I would like to go around the panel once more. Sarah, maybe we can start with you. Knowing what you know now, if you were to go back in time when you were starting your career, what advice would you give yourself? So not to the audience, not to your students, to yourself.
I think shouldn't ask permission to lead, I think. Sometimes, sometimes we think that actually the space that is around us, if we try to make a change in that, that's how we're leading. And it's not with a title or a name. It doesn't have to come with that. And additionally, I think mediocrity is no more exists in this world now. I think being mediocre in this digital, fast-paced world does not, you have to be, I'm not talking about perfection here, but I'm talking about excellence. I'm talking about being creative, being original, being individual, so that your work stands out, and you as a person can actually be seen. And that's what everyone needs in this world right now, I think.
I would tell myself, do not hesitate to learn. Make yourself uncomfortable till you become comfortable with it, and then evolve again. I think evolving is the key, and if I would have learned a lot more if I had started a little earlier. So if I'm able to make that impact on anyone sitting here or back at my school, the willingness to evolve is something that I would have suggested myself. I still do to my kids and to my students. So keep learning. There is no age limit. There will never be an age limit. I think that is something, don't hesitate to learn.
On a serious note, I'll take the advice of Sarah. I really like the advice, don't need the permission to leave. That was an amazing advice. Thank you for this.
Print
And
that on
also,
a t-shirt.
yeah, absolutely. Lum's next t-shirt, please. You don't need permission to lead.
And it doesn't have to come with a name or title. So every time you think,
Yeah, yeah.
as new graduates would think that, every time you will be given some sort of a name or a title. But no, it doesn't have to come.
And as much as the first advice, the second one, mediocrity doesn't exist. So just to be different from the other panelists, I'm going to give a different advice, which was touched upon by Khurram, and it is complementary skills, soft skills. I have struggled throughout my life with my soft skills. I received this comment from people, which is a double-edged sword for me. They say, Hamad, you have improved a lot. Well, because I learned it the hard way. Okay, so if I had those skills at the time when I was taught those skills, I wouldn't be receiving this comment, and I would really like not to receive this comment too often. Now let me be specific, what am I talking about? What complementary skills? All those skills which are outside your main areas of expertise. It can be communications, it can be conflict management, leadership, ethics, the courses which we do not attend typically because these are the courses that we use for to fulfill our sleep deprivation. तो वो courses जो non-essential जिसे हम कह सकते हैं out groups or whatever, for him it was CS 101, but for me it was social sciences. Since I lead LLI, which is in social sciences schools, I just sometimes think कितना अच्छा होता मैंने भी social sciences पढ़ी होती because yeah, so that's the short answer कि complementary skills जो है आपके outside of your area of expertise are very, very important.
Two additional things. One, do not fear failure. We run away from failure. We shy कि fail हो गए तो क्या होगा, embarrass हो जाएंगे. Does not matter. And if I may put it that, nobody cares, right? It's your self growth. Invest करें उसके ऊपर. जो चीज़ आपके पास आती है, take the chance and embrace it. And the second thing is probably what I adhere to every day is and still do is micro learning, irrespective of the socio-economic class you're in, irrespective of the time that you have on your hand. 15 minute हर किसी के पास है दिन में. And 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 2 hours a day of informal or formal learning, whatever you can afford in terms of time, it will accumulate by the end of the year. And in 2 years and in 3 years, it will begin to show. So do not shy away and but yes इस सारे के लिए जो सारा हमने जो कहा सारे पैनल ने uh, the bottom line is probably you need to be disciplined और उसके लिए it is absolutely important for your why to be clear कि complementary skills अगर आपने करनी है तो why right is it because you want career growth, is it because you want to diversify, is it because you need more money, right? Could be anything. For me it was, for example, ke life is too short to do this to keep on doing the same thing, I'll do multiple things, right? For example it could be as I don't know whatever works for you. Yeah, so that's
great advice. Thank you. Do we have time for a short Q&A? So we'll start with you at the back.
So, Mr. Khurram, you alluded to this idea of being able to communicate yourself to a 6-year-old. But for people like me, for instance, who have years of philosophical baggage and grounding in, let's say, ontological theories, this entire idea is frightening. Like,
Yeah.
how are we able to communicate ourselves, wind up all these theories to so that a 6-year-old could understand? So what would you suggest in concrete terms, as in how could we wrap our heads around this idea in real life? Because it's a perennial struggle which we confront every single day.
uh, there is no concrete. Yeah, please. There's, to be very frank, there is no concrete, framework to this, right? I wish I could share something with you, but you'll have to think every time, right? So, अगर कोई आपकी philosophical theory वगैरह है, there is always a way of putting it in the right way, right? There is a core level जिस वजह से कोई चीज़ exist कर रही होती है, right? So probably asking the why does this theory exist, right? And putting it in a couple of sentences, simple sentences could work, right? But there is no formal, subscription to what I've said. I'm sorry, but yeah. Probably your hours, the number of hours that you put in, eventually, right? That will begin to show, right? That could be the thing.
Okay, my question is from Miss Fatma. वैसे तो जो हमारा टॉपिक है एज ऑफ डिस्ट्रप्शन, वो यंग मैन के क्वेश्चन से नज़र आ रहा है कि डिस्ट्रप्शन जो है वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. यू बीइंग लीडिंग अ स्कूल, टीचर्स ऑलरेडी आपको पता है हमारी सोसाइटी में देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स बिटवीन द पेरेंट्स एंड द स्टूडेंट्स और द टीचर्स के जी. टीचर्स कहते हैं हमारे पास बहुत बर्डन है, पेरेंट्स कहते हैं टीचर्स से हैंडल नहीं होता. ऑलरेडी एक डिस्ट्रप्टिव सिचुएशन एनवायरनमेंट चल रहा है. ये वो बच्चे जो आज 2 में है, 3 में है, 4 में है, in the next 10 years, if they're being handled with people who are so mentally disturbed और जिन्होंने वो फ्यूचर क्रिएट करना है, आपके स्कूल में या आपके ख्याल से कौन से ऐसे लीडरशिप को रोल्स लेने चाहिए, अडैप्ट करने चाहिए, जिसमें ये जो एक डिस्टर्बेंसेस है मेंटली, क्योंकि वो AI से भी डील हो रहा है, ये वो so many things going on, how do you as a leader make sure that your staff is mentally, emotionally stable to handle all these challenges, and what you can recommend to the teachers who are sitting here, how to handle that, please? Thank you.
You see the challenges, oh, this works well. You see the challenges are different every other year. For instance, before pandemic, the nature of challenges was very different. Nowhere in the world we would have thought that, अच्छा भाई, घर बैठ के भी पढ़ाना है. But then there was a challenge, a big one, and we did it. उसके बाद there are challenges like developing communication. Not everybody is extrovert. There are some introverts also. Hour of the need आई, MUNs शुरू हुए, debates शुरू हुई, इस तरह की different competitions हुए that encouraged people to come out of their comfort zone and try something else. फिर आया जी AI. Plagiarism में तो माशाल्लाह बहुत सारे students ने अगर masters करना होता तो वो बगैर डिग्री के कर चुके हुए हैं. But then it comes with teaching them to be responsible. Yes, there is a privilege, we can use AI, but the responsibility come on a teacher also to teach AI with some discipline, with some boundaries. I was just talking to one of my colleague also that the need of policy for AI is much needed now on school level, college level, on different levels also. When it comes to mental well-being of a teacher, I have not seen a teacher who is not upset about something. And it's not about not happy with the leader or not happy with the student. Most of the teachers are upset about how can I make that difference? How can I make that change? How can I make education approachable to this child? That's an inner conflict that each and every teacher is having. Unless you don't have it, then you're not evolving also. Having said that, the way to answer your question would be, is to make sure that as leaders, as educators, we are well aware and connected the needs of the students in our school or college level. There are many ways. You should interact them formally or informally also. Why do we need to be sitting in the office?
No, but the point is that we've been talking about students the whole time.
Yes.
The teacher herself or himself also needs some extra emotional
True,
support from
true.
the institution and from the society, and especially teachers who are adjusting in this
That's
era when they're learning. On one hand, they're a student. On the other hand, they're a teacher as well. They're a
Yes.
parent as well. They're dealing with the economical issues, and there are financial issues, or fees, or tuition, and all that. So when you're hiring a teacher, are there any certain benchmarks to check or assess that this teacher is suitable? Because बहुत सारे लोग, जैसे you mentioned it earlier, most of them are becoming teachers because there's nothing else to do. Now this person will have a totally different approach.
And the way to teach in the class also.
Exactly.
Yes.
And how you, of course, they are learning, you're training them, you're giving them different platforms to explore themselves. But the point is, I've experienced, जब ट्रेनिंग के लिए मैं जाती हूँ, टीचर, ओह एक और ट्रेनिंग आ गई, इसमें क्या नया बताएंगे?
I think
पहले भी हमने ये सुना
this
है
is
सब कुछ.
becoming a conversation. Maybe we can take
Oh,
it
yeah,
over
sure,
lunch.
sure,
But
thank
if
you.
there's one last short question, we can take that. Okay, there are quite a few. I'd like maybe get you to ask a question. Yeah. There will be opportunity to sort of engage with the panelists. Don't let them go now that they're here. Grab them right during the lunch.
I have my
Yeah,
question
last
from Sir Khurram कि सर आपके नज़दीक, चूँकि आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम कर रहे हैं, तो आपके नज़दीक एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में वो क्या ख़ास खूबियाँ होनी चाहिए कि मैं बोलूँ कि यार मुझे अपने दिन और रात इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में देने हैं, मुझे अपने ईयर्स देने हैं, तो आपके नज़दीक वो क्या स्पेशल पॉइंट्स होंगे जो आप बताना चाहेंगे किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए?
यार बड़ा मुश्किल सवाल है। मेरे लिए जो है, देखिए एट द स्टार्ट ऑफ द करियर इट वाज के टू बी अटैच्ड विद अ बिग ब्रांड नेम, ठीक है, आई विल बी ऑनेस्ट अबाउट इट, बट नाउ इट्स अबाउट के इन द पास्ट फ्यू इयर्स इट्स बीन द ऑटोनॉमी के आई शुड बी sort of left alone in what I want to do. I really prize it, and that is what I've been experiencing at my workplace, and it's been quite a while. So अगर मुझे कोई नई चीज़ करनी होती है, so everything aligns, and maybe there is nobody to stop me from it. So ये मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ा एक anchor point है इसके लिए.
So I know there are a lot of questions, but I would like everyone to join me in thanking our panelists today. And please do use the lunch break to interact with the panelists, pick their brains, take advantage of them being here.